Well, this will be the earliest meeting we've had in a month.
Not started yet.
It will be in a second. It started.
Aha!
There we go.
Why'd you get rid of that?
I'm admitting people. Okay. I'll be right back.
Chair. Okay. Please. I'm not sure I could tonight. Yeah. Yep. Okay. That's. I just want to finish it. The house was 50 years ago.
I don't remember names too well.
That's okay.
I don't either.
I have something on my screen.
Sometimes I have trouble remembering my own. Oh, that's his wife.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And Morgan reaches quote together it takes second.
Where does that be? Out in the.
Well, there's something there. Couldn't find a bigger TV?
Yeah. You just see the box. Something made in the house. Oh yeah. A little thin. Yeah.
Detecting device?
Yeah, it's never done that. There we go. All right. Now we're cooking. Yeah, it's got my screen.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So they can hear us because we're logged in.
And they just heard me phone out the text stuff.
So we just.
Let me get myself in there. It's going to show up as the select board meeting room.
Okay. And then we'll let people know.
It comes up.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Different way it came up than usual.
No, it's not. I have to join. This is what I'm seeing on my screen. You have to let me in there.
Oh yeah. It's coming slowly.
Recording in progress. Yeah. Actually,
Owl. Why am I not? Owl's not.
can everybody hear us?
Yeah.
Okay. The owl for some reason is not.
Did it get unplugged?
Oh.
We changed over.
Okay. We'll get the owl set in a second. Give us 1 second. Yep, this is the owl. So what it does is the conference thing. It goes around in a circle. Once it. There we go. She's awake. Oops. Okay, we're up and running. We're
All
good.
set?
We're good.
Okay, gonna go ahead and open the meeting of the Shutesbury Select Board. Today is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. This meeting is being held remotely via Zoom. And I'm going to start by reviewing the agenda, and then we will get into the meeting. First item on the agenda, as always, is public comment. Then we have David Burgess and Leslie Bracebridge here to talk about the means tested senior exemption, which needs to be voted by the select board, and David and Leslie will explain what that is. Then we have a classification hearing with also with the assessors. We will not be discussing the rooster noise complaint this evening because our town council, Donna McNichol, had a family emergency and is not able to make it this evening. So we are going to delay that discussion until the next meeting. We have an appointment of Isaac Goldstein to the Energy Climate Action Committee and a brief discussion with the Energy Committee about the upcoming municipal vulnerability program. Then we have a presentation by, I believe, our police chief, who's going to present a solicitation policy and safety grant review. Then we'll have a discussion about the special town meeting, which we're looking at for early in 2024. Then Jeffrey Arps of Ty and Bond will be with us to talk about the DEP fire station violation letter that we received and next steps. Then I don't know if the fire chief will be here this evening, but maybe if he's not able to join us, Becky, you can.
He just let me know if he'll be back by 7. He's on the agenda for 7:05.
Okay, so if we have to, we can just juggle that a little bit. That he would be here to discuss decommissioning of equipment and a fee increase request. We have town administrator updates, and then at the end of the meeting, we have 2 executive sessions to discuss collective bargaining, both with the police department and with the town administrator. So a packed agenda this evening, and we will start out with public comment. I ask that you use the raised hand feature if you have a public comment, and to limit your comments to around 2 minutes if possible. So, all right, I see 2 hands already. I'm going to start in the corner. Jill Marland?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You're on.
Okay. Before I wrote out my thoughts, or after I wrote out my thoughts, I saw that Mr. Arps was going to be here tonight, but he's only scheduled for 5 minutes, and he probably can't respond or to my questions because it's more directed to the town. So my first comment has to do with that letter of violation. My first question was the select board aware of the letter from the Department of Environmental Protection that we're out of compliance? And I was wondering, I'd like to know, why are we out of compliance? What's the rationale? What's the reason for that? Will the town meet the timelines given Shutesbury before fines are imposed, as outlined in the letter of noncompliance? What is required of Shutesbury to get the town into compliance, and what is the cost involved? My second subject area is about PFAS. I'd like an update about the PFAS contamination. And since Mr. Arps is here, maybe he can give us an update. I understand that PFAS has been detected and spreading more widely in more wells. For instance, I think on properties on Wilson Road or adjacent to Wilson Road, which unfortunately is closer to the new library site. I'd like some kind of accounting of the actual number of home wells contaminated with PFAS and the costs, you know, including the bottled water, the filters, the monitoring required. And maybe Mr. Arps, he can probably say something about to give us an analysis of our PFAS situation and why and how it is spreading.
Okay, so I just want to remind you, Jill, and everybody speaking that we don't do a back and forth during public comment period. But in your case, as you noted, we will have Jeffrey Arps here talking this evening about the gasoline, the violation letter having to do with gasoline at the fire station. Mary Lou, I see your hand up.
Hi, yes, Mary Lou Conca. I live on Wendell Road. And my question is to the select board. Curious to see or learn about this hybrid meeting. Oh, excuse me. I see that you're meeting in the basement of Town Hall. Excuse me. I'm curious if it is open to the public or not. Whoa, thank you.
So I'm going to answer that question. Yes, anybody is free to come. In fact, we have at least one person here. So the definition of a hybrid meeting is that it's both remote and in person, and the public is more than welcome to join us.
Thank you, Rita.
You're welcome. Okay, the next item on the agenda.
Can I say something just
real
quick?
Go ahead, sure.
So this is not on our agenda, but I wanted to give a thank you. The town had lost a very long volunteer, dear town resident, and we had a funeral today for her. And I wanted to thank the police department, fire department, highway department for all taking part in the procession and coming and paying your respects. The procession went very well, and I appreciate that. So Kristen, I don't know if you're here. You are, okay, so someone is here. I just wanted to give a thank you for all that coordination to everybody for that. I was well appreciated by the family, friends of everyone who attended, so thank you.
Yes, and I second that. Okay, so we have just one set of minutes for this evening, and those are the minutes of October 24th, 2023.
Those have to be postponed till next week. They have not been reviewed by the select board yet. The minutes. No.
I haven't.
You don't have an edited draft.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. We are postponing. I don't have them. I thought I did. Okay. We're going to skip over the minutes of October 24th. So next on our agenda, right on time, we have again David Burgess and Leslie Bracebridge here with us this evening. The first item we're going to discuss is the senior exemption. And, you know, I'm hoping, David, you can give us some background and describe what the exemption is and what we're going to be deciding tonight, because I think there are probably people here. The select board knows it, but.
Okay. All right, well, I'm David Burgess, returning as a principal assessor 30 years later, but we're back. So,
thank you.
The circuit breaker exemption allows us to grant an exemption to the people who qualify for the state circuit breaker on their state taxes. And this year we have 8 people in the town that applied for it. The applications have been by August 31st. and the basic guideline is they have to file a state tax return, and they have to, even if they don't owe income state taxes, if they get the tax credit, they have to let us know and show us a copy of what they got on the tax credit. What we are going to do then is this is a little bit different for Shutesbury, and frankly for me as well. I haven't worked with a split tax rate in many years. What happens is that we give these 8 people an exemption equal to the amount of what they have got from the state, or we can go from 0 to 200% of that amount. For this meeting tonight, I'm going to be asking the select board to go with 100%. And this is something they will have to do every year at the same time as the classification workshop. This will not be an exemption that comes off the overlay account, which is the normal accounts. This will be taken off the valuation, and a tax rate will be split. And so the residential class of property in Shutesbury will have a slightly higher tax rate to offset the amount of money people were getting being exempted. This year, as I said, we had 8 people, and their exemption or their money from the state totaled $8,221. The way we do this, we take what we projected as going to be the tax rate, which is $17.81, and we divide that into the millage rate into the amount that people got. In other words, we divide $8,221 by 0.01781, and that gives a figure of something like $461,595, and that is the value and dollar amounts of the assessment that we will be taking off the total amount. And when we do that, and remember, it all has to stay within the residential class, that will raise the residential tax rate to $17.84, whereas the other classes will be at $17.81. We will calculate each individual on what they got from the state, and that is the dollar amount that will be taken off their assessment at that time, and then they will be paid based on the $17.84. As I said a little while ago, we can use any figure from 0 to 200% as a multiplier. And again, please remember the tax rate we're talking about here. The flat tax rate is $17.81. So if at we use 25%, it would be $17.82 on the residential class. For both 50% and 75%, it would be $17.83. If we went to 125%, it would be $17.85, and the same for 150%. And for the 200, it would be $17.87. As I said, I'm recommending this year, to we see how things work, that we go no more than 100%, but it's up to the select board, and that would be their decision. And in a nutshell, that's it.
So I thought I'd just try to give sort of a layperson's explanation of what we're doing here and what, so low income homeowners, right? That this is serving households who are seniors, seniors over 65 and who have limited assets. And this is a way of reducing their property tax bill.
Yes.
And so there's a provision within in the state tax system where they can get a tax exemption, correct?
Yeah.
And we have a dog just join us.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
You can sit. It's a public meeting.
And now we're going to be offering a tax exemption on property taxes locally.
Right, we're gonna offer the same amount as they would get from the circuit breaker from the state. I think this year the amount was $1,200 was the maximum.
Okay.
So that is the maximum. Most of our people are below that because we have 8 that qualify and we're 8,221. If they all get 1,200, it would be $9,600.
Okay.
So we're not there.
I think it also might be helpful to remind people that this was voted at town meeting.
Yes.
You just rest up to me.
Instead
of having a conversation. It's okay. I just want to make sure this select board.
I just want to make sure people remember that.
Yeah, yeah. So basically the whatever we don't collect by virtue of offering this this exemption is then absorbed by the rest of the in the tax rate.
And the residential?
The residential,
yeah.
Yes, in the residential tax rate. Okay, so I want to give and you're recommending that we go with 100% so that we match what the state does, rather than we could go up to 200, we could go low as 50%, right. But you're recommending that we do a 1-to-1 match.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's good. I just,
It puts it more in line with the maximum exemption that other people could get for the 41C, the state or state level assessments. So okay. I just want, I think for the first year, it's a reasonable starting place.
Okay. So I want to give select board members a chance. Eric is not with us in person this evening, but he is here remotely. So Eric and Melissa, do you have questions for David about this?
Well, one question I have is, what do we do now? What in the fiscal year we're now in? What historically have we done or do we do?
For example, this is the first year that you have used this service. Yes. So that'll be for FY24 and forward. And as I said, you're going to have this meeting every year to decide what you're going to do with it, what percentage you're going to use, or zero. Whichever way.
They did not, but they're going to get
it. Okay.
And just, I think I maybe said this, but what if we do the 100% as you're suggesting? How much money is that we'll have to spread over the rest of the tax rate? What roughly? I mean, do you have a sense of that?
Of assessed valuation, it would be 461,000, and of tax dollars, it's 8,221.
So the $8,200 basically, round numbers, would have to be absorbed by all the other citizens in town. Here's what we're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
For everyone, right? Yeah. Melissa, do you have questions?
No, I don't have questions. I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so what you're looking for from the select board tonight is a vote making that determination about what percentage we want to do.
Yes.
And then tell me again, when would it be reflected on tax bills?
The actual tax bill that goes out at the end of December.
Okay.
So the first payment will be in February 1st.
Okay.
And May 1st.
Okay. So people applied by the end of August, right. And then it gets instituted.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
It's the same as we're using the same process as we do for the residential or for personal exemptions, except the state mandate is they have 90 days after the tax bills. We like to get them in earlier so we can put them on the tax bills, but this will have to be done because we need to know before we send the tax bills out on this every year. This has to be done.
Okay. All right. And what are we actually signing?
Well, actually, you're just making a motion to put in your minutes.
Okay.
You're going to sign something later.
Okay.
On Gateway.
Okay. Oh, that's right. The electronic signature.
Okay. Eric, any other questions, or Melissa?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
We have to discuss what percentage we were.
Right, we have to discuss the percentage. So Melissa, you suggested that you think the 100% makes sense?
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, we're in a situation where inflation and they could use the help. So yes.
Becky?
And just as a point of information, Leslie, I think you showed me a document that showed next year's senior exemption is going up to 2,500.
Right. So then we would have the choice next year about whether or not we did it at 100% or we did it at 50, whatever. Yeah. But that's a big jump going. Yeah. So it's doubling. Yeah.
And I think that the state is acknowledging that the needs have been growing with the high inflation over the last few years.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be sure everyone was aware that it's going up.
Okay. All right. Eric, you ready to vote?
Yep. Yep.
All right. So do you want to make a motion?
Sure. I make a motion that we set the senior exemption at 100% of benefit for fiscal year 2024. Yeah.
Is there a second?
So moved. Second.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second.
Yeah, whatever.
Not feeling well.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Nikki Sonia, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Okay, great. Thank you. So you're on again.
I are. This is the other yearly hearing that you have to force up the tax rate. And basically what you're going to do in this is you're going to decide if we're going to have one tax rate, which you've already decided we're not going to, but you will have to vote still the residential rate of 1 because I'll explain as we get into it. Basically, the information I'm going to give you tonight is what we do. When we step in setting a tax rate, we determine the property tax levy, and that's part of the budget. We determine the assessed valuation, that's us. And then we tabulate the valuations by class, and the classes are residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property. Classification hearing steps, we come to you and we're going to give you a full presentation we're doing now, and you have to decide what factor of the residential against the commercial is going to be, and that can be anywhere. You can raise the commercial up by 50% if you wanted to, and go from there. And then you will sign the LA5, which is the form you've been talking about, and we will send a recap sheet. And then we will hopefully get the DOR to sign off quickly, so we can start testing tax bills. Going to give it a little bit of terminology. If you've got, we can do this, or we can. I mean, have you all done this before, or do you want to go through it?
We have, but I think for this time to sort of go through the process.
This year, the levy amount is what you're going to hear me talking about. That's the money that's going to be raised by property tax. It's $5,525,397, and I'm using round numbers as well. You have a thing called the levy ceiling. And the levy ceiling is the maximum amount of money you can go to that will produce a tax rate of $25 per thousand, and you can't go there right now because it's just the way it is. And that is $7,756,462. That is your absolute cap, unless you put an override on. This year we have new growth, and new growth is basically new homes, large additions, splits of land. In other words, when people's broken land off and they're now buildable lots, obviously they're more valuable than just backland. And any commercial and changes like that along the line. Unfortunately, we don't have very much commercial in Shutesbury. And the levy limit, this year for the levy limit, you heard me, there's that figure of 5,525,000. The levy limit is $6,230,018. And that's the the amount that you could raise this year without going to an override. So, as I said, your levy limit is that. And the other item I need to advise you on, you're raising $5,525,397. And the difference between the $6,230,018 is what we call the excess levy capacity. And that amount is 739,176. It's fairly healthy. And all that means is that you have not used that money. You have not taxed to the max. You're still a little bit shy. As I said, the major properties, the four classes are residential, commercial, industrial, and personal. 94% of the time is residential. And the commercial is 0.689, industrial is 0.3976, and personal property is 4.612. That is so large because you've got the cable company, cable companies, you've got the telephone companies, and you've got the electric companies, and they are a big factor for the town. In fact, the total valuation of those alone is 14,300,000. So it's very good. You have the option of splitting the tax rate, as I said. You could raise it to 1781. You could go to 1.5 times that on the commercial if you wanted, or anywhere in between on percentages. We don't recommend it as the assessors, simply because you would be getting a 1% residential tax reduction, and you'd be sticking with 6.5% more on the commercial. And your commercial base is almost negligible at the moment anyway. So it's just, most assessors will not recommend until it's about a 75 or 70-30 split. You're nowhere near that. As I said, your tax rate, your basic tax rate was $17.81. But we are going to have a tax rate of $17.84 in the residential class. The history has been that back in 2019, you were 2021, and then you went up to $20.63, then down, and it's been steadily down since then from $20.18 to last year's $18.44, and this year's $17.81. In brief, the average single family home this year is valued at $344,100. I can't even read my own typing. And last year it was $330,250. Roughly, increase of $38 or 6.8 or 0.6% increase this year. Using those new numbers for the tax rate for the circuit breaker, that's going to compute to $49 instead of 33 or 0.8% across the board. So the Board of Assessors recommendation would be not to split the tax rate between the residential, commercial, and the personal classes, but then voting the tax shift factor. And that was proposed motion. Would you read that from me? I'm sure.
Sounds like a tongue twister.
Oh, sorry.
Speak toward the owl, Leslie.
Oh, she needs glasses.
Is this what
you
want me to read? The Shutesbury Selectboard votes in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56, as amended, the percentage of local tax levy which will be borne by each class of real and personal property relative to setting the fiscal year 2024 tax rates, and set the residential factor at 1, with a corresponding CIP, which stands for commercial, industrial, and personal, shift of 1, pending approval of the town's annual tax recap by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue.
Okay, so that is one of the motions you're going to vote.
Okay.
You're also going to vote a factor of 1. You're going to vote for no open space because we don't have any open space. And you'll also vote, no residential exemption, because we're not doing that, and no commercial exemption, because there's something wrong with it.
Okay, so why don't we start with this motion? Do we have all of the motions
you have them.
listed?
Yeah, I sent them in the packet. I mean, they were on the,
I got it.
yeah.
You have them?
I can read it.
Okay, as long as you have them.
Where does it say?
It has the word vote in it. I compiled the different ones that let's see put together.
Where's the not right? If not, I can look in the email.
No, it's in the,
Is it in the email?
Leslie, I think you had it written
I have the
down.
motions
Why don't
there.
you just-
I didn't write it down.
Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, if I can
My
read it.
printer
it's
wasn't
not-
working.
I can run up and get it.
I just got my printer working at the end of the meeting.
Do you have it on the computer there? Yeah, you can send it to me.
I think it's in the assessor's files. I will open that. Sorry.
So while we're waiting on that, I just had a question, David. You mentioned that the new growth. So did you mention a number of what the new growth was?
60 something. $68,309.
So that's the additional amount that can be raised.
Over and above the 2.5%, yes.
Okay. And what is that in terms of property values? Like, do you have that number?
If you take away $18 per thousand, it would be, I think it was $5 million.
$5 million.
Right around there.
And is that, do you know, well, you probably don't know from previous years.
It's
like,
higher than last year.
It's higher than last year's. Okay. So there was a growth of $5 million.
No, yes, but I'm going to explain, you can't expect this next year because unfortunately we found some stuff that should have been picked up a few years ago. Leslie was showing me a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And because it hadn't been done, we were able to put it on this year.
I see. So you were picking up increases in values. Okay.
I'm sorry that, I think Leslie just went up to grab the original sheet.
Your feet.
It'll be quick.
What you guys can't hear on the camera is we hear feet going across the top of the room as Leslie's grabbing something off the desk.
Here she comes.
I can read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can see. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a motion on the floor. It's the first motion.
Well, it's part of.
Is that there? Okay.
Yeah. I believe it's part of these.
So, yeah.
All right.
Top one is first.
Top one is first. So I move that the select board vote to establish a residential factor of 1, meaning a single tax rate for FY24. Right, for 23.
That's, yes, that's different from the split one for the circuit breaker.
Right, for FY24.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye.
I move the select board vote not to adopt an open space discount for FY24.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye.
I move the select board vote not to adopt a residential exemption for FY24.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Macy O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye.
I move the select board vote not to adopt a small commercial exemption for FY24.
Sorry.
No,
you're right.
FY24.
There's no law.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second?
That's the last one.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye.
And the last one, I move the Shutesbury Select Board vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56, as amended, the percentage of local tax levy, which will be borne by each class of real and personal property relative to the setting the fiscal year 2024 tax rates, and set the residential factor at 1 with the corresponding CIP shift of 1.0 pending approval of the town's annual tax recap by Massachusetts Department of Revenue.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye.
I very much appreciate the motions written out.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I'll, Becky, will take care of getting a signature on the LA5. I
Okay,
only need one of you.
okay.
You have to flip a coin.
Yeah,
So if you let me know when that happens, I'll submit it to DOR.
Okay, and I'll remind Grace, the town clerk, she has to sign in the morning too.
That'll be great. Thanks.
okay,
Thank
great.
you all.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming in,
Thank you.
David. Yeah, oh yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
It was
Leslie.
an under.
It was at the,
You remember you said that?
I must be doing it wrong, but it was in the recent, the recent was the last one.
Which one? Yeah.
Oh.
So I have to learn how to use it better. I did, it was in mine, but it's how we look at it. I have to
Yeah, I
learn
didn't,
how.
yeah, I didn't see it, yeah.
So you didn't see a number of things.
Okay, we had on the agenda, to, entertain a complaint. The select board had, received a complaint about rooster noise, and Donna McNichol, our town council, was going to be here this evening, and she's unable to attend. So, we're going to have to put that off for a couple of weeks. And Becky, our next meeting is the 21st, is that correct?
And it'll be dependent on what happens.
Right.
We aren't 100% certain
About
that she can come in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Donna has a family emergency,
Yeah.
so we will do the best we can. So we had an appointment on for 6:30. We're ahead of schedule because we're not doing the rooster complaint. So I'm wondering if we can move a couple of things ahead here. We have the police presentation on solicitation policy. Is Kristen here? Oh, she is.
Yes.
Okay. Kristen, would you mind if we push that ahead on the schedule? And then depending on how much time we have, we'll juggle other things. Sure. Okay. So, Kristen, the floor is yours, and I know you forwarded us some draft documents.
Yes.
Yesterday, whenever, and why don't you kind of run through what you're proposing?
Okay, excuse me. The first item I'd like to talk about is solicitation in town. Over the past year, but particularly this summer, we've seen a rise in concerns/complaints from the residents in Shutesbury, some of which weren't necessarily called into the police department, but were on social media where we were tagged in that. The concern was that residents weren't sure who was allowed to be soliciting in town, They were concerned if they were allowed to have their name be put on a list for a no-knock. And I started looking into different applications for solicitors throughout Franklin County, because we don't have a specific, at least we don't now have a specific application for solicitors. I believe we did in the past, but it was all done on paper and not with computer. So when the last one got used before I came to Shutesbury, I think that it was lost on that no one made copies. So what I have been doing is just taking the information down as people come in. What would be preferred, I believe, and what I think the residents would appreciate, is if we had a specific application and rules written out for solicitors, and also rights for the residents as to what they can expect as well. And that could be also put on the website, so that when solicitors are looking to solicit in town, they can go straight to the website and see what the regulations are in town, and they can decide whether or not that's something that they wish to pursue. So I do have an idea on solicitation regulations, and then also an application. I already have a couple of modifications on that. I'm not sure if Becky has the ability to share it on the screen. First, the regulations, Becky, if you want to try. Meanwhile,
I do.
Okay, great. Meanwhile, should I wait for that or start reading them?
No, give me 2 seconds.
Kristen, can I ask you a question while we're getting it up? So right now, if somebody was coming into town, would they typically come to the police department first, or get in touch with the police department to say, I'm going to be going door to door?
So per state law, they are supposed to come to the police station and speak to someone at the police station. For the most part, that is happening. However, this summer, there were probably 3 solicitors that did not do their mandatory check-in. And I found out about that from calls from residents, and also from posts from residents, that they were inquiring as to whether or not a certain solar company or whatever had registered with me, and wondering if they could put themselves on a no-knock list, meaning don't go to this address kind of thing. So that really sparked the idea and the thought process to get this more streamlined. It's going to be more efficient for the police department and for the solicitor, but it's also going to be readily available to the residents. So the idea is that when a solicitor will come in and register per the guidelines on the website, then once we have that solicitor's information, that can be posted for the public. It can be posted outside the police station, it can be posted at the clerk's office, it could be posted, outside town hall, just so, and online, just so people are aware of who they might see coming around.
And is this something that can be adopted? Are you looking for the select board to adopt this, or how does this work? It's not a town vote, right?
The select board has to approve policy for the.
So it's not, it wouldn't be a policy per se, it would be a regulation. So I still believe that you would need to vote to approve or deny the regulation, but it wouldn't be necessarily a policy unless we wanted to put it into policy with
regulation category.
Yeah, we typically call them policies. So, and that we the policy. So I think it's probably the same as it's really. Yeah.
Sure.
It's a police department policy.
So I would definitely be looking for the votes on that.
Okay.
Are you ready for me to go through that real quick?
Yes. Yep.
I can see in the reflection of your glasses. You can see it, right, Kristen?
I can, yes. So this is the solicitation regulations. Persons engaged in solicitation canvassing as defined in the bylaw must have their registration certificate on their person at all times during solicitation or canvassing, and show such certificate to any person soliciting or upon the request of any police officer. First item I want to modify is as defined in the Massachusetts law of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, not the bylaw. Registration certificates are only valid for the specific dates or time period specific thereon, and in no case for longer than 60 days. So basically, when they fill out their application, they're going to let me know how long they're going to be soliciting in the town of Shutesbury, and they are to stick to that guideline, and I should not give them the leeway to go more than 60 days. Upon going into any residential premises in the town of Shutesbury, every solicitor, canvasser, or other persons must first examine any notice that may be posted prohibiting solicitation, trespassing, or other activities. If such notice is posted, the solicitor, canvasser, or other person shall immediately and peacefully depart the premise. Number 4, any solicitor, canvasser, or any other person who has gained entrance to any residence, whether invited or no, shall immediately peacefully depart from the premises when requested to do so by the occupant. Number 5, any solicitor, canvasser, or other person shall notify the Shutesbury Police Department prior to conducting any solicitation or canvassing. No person shall, number 6, falsely represent directly or by implication that the solicitation, canvassing, or other activity is being done on behalf of a governmental organization or on behalf of any municipal employee or elected official. Number 7, solicit or canvass or conduct any other activity at the residence where there is a sign posted prohibiting the same without express prior permission of the occupant. Number 8, solicit, canvass, or conduct any other activity at the residence without express prior permission of the occupant before the hours of 9 a.m. And I'd like to make a modification here, or after sunset. Where there is no sign posted otherwise limiting solicitation or the hours of solicitation or such activities. Number 9, utilize any form of endorsement from any department head currently employed or serving the town of Shutesbury. And number 10, solicit, canvass, or conduct any other activity at any residence in a threatening, abusive, or illegal fashion. Thereby would be signed by the applicant and dated by the applicant, that they understand the regulations. So on number 8, I would ask that the modification be sunset. That's the feedback that I received from probably 25 different residents. And then if we could go to the application.
Yeah, 1 second.
Kristen, I don't know if this belongs in there, but I'm wondering about requiring that any solicitors have some form of identification or some, certification that they've seen the police department. Like, would you give people if somebody came to my door and I said, have you been screened or whatever? Do you have an application in with the police department? Could we give them some kind of a certification or?
Yes, so typically, so on the number 1 line in regulations, it does say that they should show their certificate that they have through the state. Also, we can create a okay to solicit card that they can take with them as well that could be signed by me, so that they would show that they have permission to be out there.
Okay, that would be great. I think if they had something to.
And can I offer something else, Kristen? As reading through this, things like canvasser and solicitor, the definitions are different depending on the person. And might it be helpful to have a small definition of what those are? What the activity is, only for the person that's doing it, a small one,
Right, yes. Okay, sure. We can definitely add that in if you just make a note to remind me.
Yeah, I will. So what they have here, what you have here is those activities are defined so that there's no well, that's not what I would call canvassing, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Go ahead, Eric.
Number 2 of the regulations, it has that 60-day window. I mean, is that in total in a year, or is that 60 days? And you know what I mean? So like, what if somebody says, oh, it's going to take me 100 days to do the town? Do they get 60 days and then they can apply for another 60? How's that work? That's my question.
They could. It would be concurrent, right? So 60 days concurrent. So if they came back and said, I haven't finished what I needed to do, I need another 30 days, they would then reapply. And the reason for that is because they are acknowledging that they would have a Corey check done, which is by state law. So I would check their Corey information to make sure that they are able to continue to solicit in the area and don't have any disqualifiers.
Okay. Should we put something in that number 2 that you can reapply, or what? Is it just leave it like it is? That's fine too with me, but it's a little vague.
What I found is that they typically know that they can then reapply because this is what they do going from town to town, but we certainly can add that in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to go to the application, Kristen?
Yes, please. So then the application, I'd like to just talk about this. Does not matter for me other way. Other towns, the majority actually of the smaller towns do have a fee for solicitors that they need to pay to the town, not to the police department, to the town for soliciting or canvassing. We found that typically the fee is $50 per organization or $20 per individual. To me, that does not matter at all. That would be up to the town on what they would like to do. And then throughout the application, it clearly defines the organization name they're working for, the organization's address, the party that is applying, what their license number is, their driver's license number. That Corey information would not be allowed to the public, but the public would have the person's name. If they wanted to look that information up, we would provide the person's name, the color of the vehicle, and the make and model of the vehicle, because we're asking for that information as well. And sometimes solicitors or canvassers are actually looking for specific addresses. So we've put that line in there in case it's a specific. Otherwise, they can write all. And we also ask for 3 other communities that the solicitor or canvasser have been in and done such business in before, just in case we wanted to get some feedback on how they represented themselves while they were in that community. And then they need to supply us the certificate of annual registration statement. That's with the Attorney General's office, and they know that they have to apply for that. Or contract with charitable organization, any insurance information and business license. The applicant then signs and dates, and then we have received. So what I would provide the residents of the town is the name of the business that will be out there, how long they're going to be out there, the person's last name, and the make, model, and color of the vehicle that they will be driving in. Okay. Whereas the rest of the information would stay on file with the police department.
Okay. I have another question whenever I can ask it.
Go for it, Eric.
My question is, and I'm just thinking, like, how would this apply to somebody in town who is running for office, let's just say? I mean, are they an organization or an individual? Do they have to have one of these things? I mean, they want to knock on doors, which has happened in this town, where people are running for some office and they knock on doors soliciting their own vote or the vote of their friend or whatever it is. How would this work with that?
Right. So if it's somebody who's currently working for any department or employed by or serving the town of Shutesbury currently, that would be a no person shall number 9. So no person shall number 9 utilize any form of endorsement from any department head currently employed or serving the town of Shutesbury. I don't think we've run into that problem yet. I don't know that people have gone door to door asking for votes.
Oh, I know they have. I know they have. So
Okay. So we could then opt to allow that on one of the allow lines, or under 9, we could put an exemption that, you know, those running for office, you know, for the town of Shutesbury are exempt of such, of number 9. That's, I think we could put that in there.
yeah, I think we'd want to have. I just think we want to have people be able to do it. That's all.
Sure.
However we decide to do that.
Yeah, and I wasn't even thinking of that. I'm mostly thinking of, you know, the people that are going around checking cell phone towers and the people that are going around selling, you know, selling solar and selling equipment and things like that. That's what I was thinking of. So we definitely could put something in there that is really understood that that is allowed, because it has been passed.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
I'm actually reading that a little differently, because to me, when I read that, it means that none of those organizations would say, you know, I'm here because Melissa and the select board said I should go to the different houses. Do you know what I'm saying? It sounds like us endorsing what they're, rather than, I think I'm reading it differently than Eric did.
Yeah,
I'm reading more.
Okay, so we should probably look at that one a little bit harder. Maybe Melissa, you could help me maybe word that, because to me it's even if, you know, I shouldn't go endorse myself, you know what I'm saying? Not that I need to, but you know, because I don't live in town, so I can't endorse myself for any other, you know, thing. So I think we should look at number 9 and rewrite that.
All right.
If you'll help me with the wording.
Yeah, I can do that.
So we came up with a couple of changes, taking bylaw out and putting in the MGL, Mass General Law citation, correct? And
yes.
Then there was another one to sunset, as opposed to 9 p.m.
Yeah. And rewrite 9.
And then we'll rewrite 9. So are you looking for us to vote on this tonight? Because we don't have an edited version.
No, not tonight, because I'd like to get the modifications done and then present the new one at another meeting, and then you could vote on it then, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
And during the time in between, I'll make sure that it doesn't need to be a bylaw that goes before town meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's the one
thing. And I see that there's a public comment with a hand raised. Did you want to intervene?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of time, but I'll take one comment. Let's see. I don't see who it is.
Oh, it's over here.
Michael, go ahead.
Thanks. I'll do it really quickly. Just building on Eric's comment, I think the two things I would add, one is that it's not just elected offices, but it's issues that will be voted on by residents. So if it's a bond bill or any kind of thing we have to vote on, and also just, I think because this language is about people in office, it also should include people who are not currently in office.
Great. I will make sure that we take note on that one too. Thanks, Michael.
Jill, go ahead.
I just wanted to add that on the topic that we're addressing, that people should wear identification. You know, if they're canvassing or, you know, trying to get votes or endorse something, some policy in the town, that they should have identification that's visible.
Yeah, yes, Jill, that's exactly why we want to streamline this more, so that the residents feel more secure and safe with who they see walking around.
Yeah, I was particularly talking about employees or committee members who are canvassing and trying to, you know, encourage people to vote for themselves or a particular issue, that when they come to your door, they should be wearing identification that's visible. Like if I was advocating for something and knocking on the door, I should have my name.
Yes, I understand.
And my address, yeah. Thank you.
So I'll bring this back to the select board after Melissa and I bang out a couple more modifications of this.
And I don't know, Kristen, if you heard Becky mention that she was just going to double check to make sure that we didn't need any kind of town meeting vote on this.
Right.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you, Kristen. This is
I
great.
have one more then.
Was that?
One more item.
Right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm super excited to announce, you know, as we have all heard, there is a lot of concern of people speeding, driving too fast on the roadways in Shutesbury, and we've been really working on various different ways to sort of you know, take control of that situation and get people to slow down. One of the things that I did was applied for the traffic safety grant through the Commonwealth, and we were awarded the traffic safety grant. So we were awarded $12,478 from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. A lot of you know this as the quote, click it or ticket grant. This is going to allow me to have officers work extra shifts specifically for the grant itself. Their sole job would be addressing the traffic safety program grant. So I am very excited that we were awarded that. At this point now, what we need to do, and I don't know if you have that letter, Becky, if you wanted to bring the letter up, that we were awarded that. In October by Governor Maura Healey and Lieutenant Governor Kimberly Driscoll. You don't have to, but if you wanted to, because I'm just really excited about it. And so I need the select board tonight to vote to accept, hopefully, if you will, accept the grant, please, so we can get the proper signatures and move forward with the process.
Okay, so did I see an end of October deadline on that?
We have an extension.
Okay, all right. So do I hear a motion to accept the safety grant from the National Transportation Safety Board? Is that correct?
Yes, it's the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Okay.
And it's state and federal.
State and federal, okay. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you,
Kristen. That's
some good news finally.
Yes, yeah, good news.
Yeah, Kristen, I'd just like to say, I think maybe you missed the last select board meeting, but we talked about sort of having I think we decided to have sort of an informal traffic study committee, which hopefully you would be on. Okay. But I know I'm interested in being on. I'm not sure who else would be on it. But the idea was that we sort of the highway department, the police department, the fire department, whatever, just sort of sit around and think of ways we might be able to. What should we do? What should we do? What kind of recommendations should we make to the select board to control traffic a little better? This would obviously be one of them. Yeah. This is great. But anyway, I'm just bringing that up. That's sort of been on delay of game because of the intrusion of COVID here and there. So we're going to get back on that one.
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay. We are going to, we skipped ahead as folks from the Energy Committee might have noticed, because we're moving a few things around on the agenda. So I apologize for our delay in getting to you, but we do have I saw Michael here. I'm not sure who else is here from the
We've got Gail, and then Isaac.
Gail, yeah.
Okay.
We don't have a quorum, so that's sufficient. We can just talk to you.
Okay, all right. And the first order item of business is to appoint Isaac Goldstein to the Energy and Climate Action Committee. And I see, Isaac, you have joined us. Isaac's already on our fire department. He's a firefighter in town, and we're glad that you are stepping up. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourselves again for folks who don't know you?
Yeah, my name is Isaac Goldstein. I work at UMass Amherst as an academic advisor. I live in community with my brother and brother-in-law, sister-in-law, my wife, and my son We moved here a couple of years ago, and I've just really enjoyed and loved the community, and just trying to find as many ways as possible to become more part of it and give back to it. So,
Rita, can I just jump in quickly?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so Isaac has joined us for 2 meetings, I think, maybe even 2.5 when we had a very short informal one. So he's aware of what ECAC has done, expressed interest at town meeting, which is how this all started, and has already been helping Nate in terms of the CCA work. So he's rolled up his sleeves, even though he hasn't been appointed. So we strongly support him.
It's a very good sign. Great. Okay, great. So do I hear a motion to appoint Isaac Goldstein to the Energy and Climate Action Committee? So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, any further discussion? No. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Stucker, aye.
Carol, aye. And thank you, Isaac, for your willingness to serve. That's great. So how many slots do you still have open then, Michael, on the Energy Committee?
Isaac makes 5, so we have 2 more.
2 more?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So can I ask you a quick question, Michael? Does this solve your issues with quorum, or should we pursue that further, or what?
Well, my personal opinion is I think it's worthwhile considering for the town. I know there's different opinions, but it gives us a little bit more flex. Before Isaac got appointed, if we had 1 absence, we couldn't do business. So now we can afford having 1 person not show up. But it raised a very interesting question, which, although I've been on town committees for 20 years, I sort of didn't think about how many slots you have versus how many appointees you have. And it really makes a difference. So, if we want to do business and, committees go up and down with appointees, I think it's worth considering and having some kind of thoughtful conversation among the select board.
We won't do that tonight, but I know there was an exchange with our town. We'll have a discussion. Our town clerk.
There's disagreement, I know.
There's a disagreement, right?
Yeah, and Donna weighed in.
Okay, and our town council weighed in. Okay.
She couldn't help but glance at all the emails she received, even though they weren't authorized.
Well, I don't recall seeing anything that she wrote, but we will revisit that.
Well, she didn't write it.
Okay.
I didn't mean to bring it up tonight. I just wanted to ask, just keep that alive, that discussion alive, that's all, which apparently we're doing.
Okay, so the second part of the ECAC, and I know you don't, this is not an official meeting, but the past 2 years, the town has applied for the Municipal Vulnerability Program and not received an award either time. We want to go forward again, and maybe somebody other than me can just quickly give a synopsis of what the Municipal Vulnerability Program is. Becky or Michael, do you want to?
Becky, you want to do it? You want me to do it?
Why don't you do it, Michael?
Okay, so it's a statewide program intended to help municipalities be prepared for the impacts of climate change. And it pays for a range of things. It's a 2-step process, like lots of state grants, where you had to do a planning grant, which meant doing a whole town-wide process and touching base with key stakeholders, which we did. We got the planning grant, so we're designated an MVP community, which meant we can apply for action grants, which hypothetically meant that communities could apply for grants to get money. But we're not so good at achieving that part of the second equation. I will just say one other thing, just because if anyone researches it, last year, I think it was, they rolled out an MVP 2.0, which is also a planning process, which is slightly different. But we're still interested if we were to go forward and applying for the action grant, which is to actually do something. And it's all the action grants are supposed to be tied to your planning grant report, all the priorities that the town identified in our MVP plan.
And there were a wide range, and then they were categorized by sort of high priority, medium priority, and lower priority. And last year we Well, we've gone through this process with the MVP staff where they give the town an opportunity to preview ideas, preview, you know, what we might want to apply for. And that's where we are at this point. I believe it's December 15th.
Yeah.
Where they have said, you know, come to us. And we did the same thing last year and thought we were encouraged to apply for the solar installation on the new library, which was an eligible project, and we still didn't get funded. So we can go back in with the same, and I know Becky's had a conversation with the staff person, Andrew, I don't remember his last name, you know, who said, sure, come back in. And then there was some discussion about doing something in addition to the solar, doing some way of doing some backup, battery backup. And so, but what we wanted to talk about and kind of, you know, broach with the committee is what do we go forward with during this, you know, for this December 15th deadline. We want to come up with, you know, a couple of potential projects, and then they will talk to us about it. And so I know there's still interest on the part of the library, if I'm not mistaken, in for the solar, but having some sort of battery backup, it has been mentioned. And as originally conceived, we didn't have any battery backup. And with the, you know, reduction in the footprint and the square footage of the library, there really isn't room within the proposed building to put any kind of battery storage. So, you know, I think if we're going to do that, I mean, they did come up with a suggestion. The MVP staff person actually suggested that we could the town could purchase an electric vehicle, like a pickup truck, which could be the battery backup. And when I heard that, I thought, you gotta be kidding. But there's an article in the New York Times today about, I believe it's in Texas, or I can't remember where, that there are communities that are using school buses as a battery backup. So look for it. If you're interested, let me know. I'll forward you the article. So I thought this was the most ridiculous thing. And then there it is in the New York Times that, but school buses are a different kind of, a very different vehicle from a pickup, both because they are not used, like if we had a highway truck that, you know, it's used every weekday, all day long, where school buses are just used for very small, and school buses have much bigger batteries. So anyway, but that being said, you know, I think at least my proposal would be that we look to the MVP folks for battery storage, where if we were doing on-site battery storage, that we had a separate shed that kind of met, when I say shed, I think it has to be concrete building, has to be on a concrete pad and fireproofed, to see whether or not we could include that in the grant application, rather than saying we're going to buy an electric pickup truck to be our backup, because once that electric pickup truck is out of commission after 5 or 6 hours, hours or years, and you know, they're like $75,000, you know, that we would have to buy another one.
And we also have to consider, when we have our biggest power outages, the sun is only up for a few hours a day. So it's not up long enough to charge up and keep going.
Right. Well, they're all electric charged, but anyway, I'm not sure where they're coming from, but at least, as I said, it's not as absurd as I initially thought after I read this article today. So,
can I share a thought, Rita?
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you and me and Becky are the closest to this MVP process, and I got to say, I'm feeling highly skeptical. So until I heard your idea, I was going to say let's not bother. But I think this is a decent idea because it doesn't take a lot of work. We already have the library. It sounds like between the New York Times article and Becky's information and conversation with Andrew, it's worth going forward. I just as a sort of a statement, like it's discouraging with MVP because it's designed to help, and we're not getting information. And I can't tell. Last year they had remaining money from ARPA, so there was a bigger pot. This year, I don't know if there'll be infrastructure money that they're giving or it'll be less money. So I think it's worth trying if we don't spend a lot of time. And just since I have the floor, before we wrap up, I just want to share a thought in terms of funding and positioning on grants, but you should continue this conversation.
Well, the other idea I wanted to throw out there is, since we have the opportunity to present too, and if we use this idea, the second idea I think that addresses climate change issues would be the culvert at Browns Pond. Browns Pond is being looked at seriously for potential removal. And when that happens, it'll probably impact the way the water flows through the culvert. It would definitely change the whole landscape at that point. And if we could, we don't have the design work done, but we need to get the design work done and seeing how, if we can get a grant to do the design work. I think that's an upcoming project for MVP. Because we're going to need significant funding to replace that culvert. And it's functioning just fine now, so it's not an emergency, but I think we need to start planning for replacing it. Tim always had his eye on it. So that, I think that's a project that we could really well consider in the future.
And it would just be the design money as opposed to, because we have no idea what the cost
would be. We'd have to get the design done first. And it's possible we can potentially use Chapter 90 money to do the design separately, depending on the timing. They're starting early this year, but the actuals don't go in till May or April or May, I think, even though they're starting early. So there's a window that potentially, if we could get the design work done, we could present a request for the new culvert. Any other ideas, Michael?
I was just gonna, I'll wait.
Go ahead.
I don't have another idea. I was just gonna comment. So, I mean, Becky sort of backed into the point I was gonna make, which is we're always in this quandary. Like we've talked about this at ECAG a lot, and we've run into it now again, where none of the state grant programs, like there was another one, the Meta grant program that I just discovered, they all want some pre-work done, some design work, some project stuff. And, it's not quite necessarily shovel ready, but you need more than we ever have. It's more than the MVP plan. And so, Rita, I know I mentioned to you this in the spring and I talked to AJ at town meeting, but what we really need is either ECAC to have a budget line item or the town to have a pool of money for climate related projects so that we can not get a grant, so we can apply for a grant, because we've now done this a few cycles where we don't have the required baby work done to actually get real money. And so I wanted to ask, and just bring stuff to the select board, that ECAC be part of the meetings in the finance committee budget meetings, so we can talk about the idea of having a climate fund or something, because we're just going to keep revisiting this. Like, I think the thing that makes the library work is it's permitted and it's already designed and all that stuff. Becky talking about the culvert is exactly the problem. We can see a problem coming down the road, but if we don't have a design work and we haven't paid for it, the problem last year, just as a very small example from Lisa and Eric, what we originally wanted to pitch last year for MVP, which is in the MVP plan, is to do net zero through solar on the 5 municipal buildings. But in order to have a consultant come out and say for those buildings, this is how you design and you deploy, because each, town hall is going to look different from the school. It's going to look different from the fire department. We need that project design and those numbers connected to it to then apply for an MVP grant. And so, yeah, we could hypothetically go to town meeting for that, but it seems like if we had a pool and we had due diligence on an operational level, we could then, hire someone, the select board could hire someone to do that initial work, and then we'd be much better poised. We'd have something in our back pocket. So that's my pitch.
I think that's definitely worth thinking about. And if it was going to be net zero for town buildings, I would encourage a joint meeting with the building committee, who's done a lot of analysis on just basic needs of all of our municipal buildings, just to bring them into better working.
We can have a party.
We can have a party. Amen. We need a party. Okay, so I think we will probably move ahead with the library, solar, and we will entertain this again at another select board meeting. So we'll let you know and let the energy committee know in case something comes up between now and then that you want to discuss. Again, this December 15th deadline is simply to come up with ideas. So we're not locked in. Then the application happens sometime in 2024. So, we have a long lead time here, but obviously we want to take this opportunity of December 15th. So you guys come up with something else and certainly let us know. So thank you for coming to this evening's meeting.
Hey, Rita, Mary Ann has a question here. Mary Ann has her hand up and has for a while, which that is kind of blocked with the way it looks there.
Quick question. We have somebody here from Time Bond. Yep, go ahead.
So when would the grant application be due, and when will we know if we got the grant?
I think the timeline was was it March or?
They don't come out
April?
with the results until like the summer.
Yeah. It's not in the spring.
And it's a race after that.
So the grant doesn't go in till April or May.
Right. And last year they notified, and the grant started September, and you had to spend down by June 30th. So it's a 9-month period based on last year.
So, and then are you going to be having a meeting with the MVP people before December 15th?
No.
There's no meeting. The December 15th is really just we submit, and then they call us afterwards, right, to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
okay.
Do something
Thank you.
that. You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. The next item on the agenda was to talk about the town meeting, but I want to move that because I see Jeffrey Arps has joined us. Jeff is from Time Bond, and we asked him to come this evening just to address the violation letter and the town's response to the violation letter that we received from DEP. And quickly, this was, we did some testing at the fire station from the original contamination, gasoline contamination. And when that testing was done, I believe in July, if I'm not mistaken. In June.
No, it was done in June. More testing was done in July. Okay. But the original in June.
So early in the summer, we were surprised and disturbed to discover that there were reportable levels of gasoline in the test wells at the fire station. We thought the whole thing had been dealt with a number of years ago when that cleanup happened, but those test wells, we were required by DEP to do this periodic testing. Was done. Gasoline showed up again. So we received a violation notice from DEP, and Jeff, I'm gonna turn it over to you to talk about where we go from here.
Okay. Good evening. Is it okay if I do kind of just a 3-minute recap with some plans and just kind of show everybody where we're talking about and all of that?
Absolutely.
Let me get it. You need the screen?
Yes, please.
Where do you go?
All right, so you should be seeing the fire station site plan. So we got the fire station building here. This is the gasoline tank. There was a gasoline dispenser between the tank and the building. There was another oil tank out here. This monitoring well, MW8R, this is kind of ground zero for the gasoline issue. So O'Reilly, Talbot, and Oaken had done this work back in 2017, 2018, and did a very substantial remedial program. This site plan shows this is everything they dug up, these yellowish boxes. So they dug up, pretty much the western side of the fire station out into Lever Road. Took a lot of contaminated soil out. They couldn't dig under the fire station building itself, obviously. So they did some injections in there to address the residual contamination under the building. And then after they had done that, so this is MW8R. You can see the C5 to C8 aliphatic hydrocarbons, going all the way back to 2011, or 9,000, 12,000, 10,000. These are big numbers. So after the remediation was completed, it was down to 3,100, which is a very good reduction and certainly made sense based on all the work that was done. So fast forward to 6 years, because the site didn't qualify for a permanent solution, they did what's called a temporary solution. It just kind of lets you park the site. We're not doing any more active remediation. We think we've done enough, and Mother Nature will take care of what's left. So when we went out in June 2023, we sampled MW8R, and lo and behold, these C5 to C8 aliphatics and C9 to C10 aromatic concentrations had jumped up. They were actually higher than they were in 2016, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So, we said, oh boy, that's not good. So we came back out and we sampled MW8R again to confirm the detection. And we also sampled MW9R, and it says MW100, but we're calling it MW12 now because Mass DEP came out and put in another MW100. So to avoid confusion, this MW100 is now MW12. So we resampled all 3 of these. MW8R actually came up worse, came up hotter than it was in June. But these 2 are okay. So MW12, I believe, MW12 had C5 to C8 aliphatics at 210, and the standard's 300. So, we're below. It's closer than I'd like it to be. Could it go up? Possibly, but probably not. Things are pretty static out there. So, so obviously once we got that result, we were kind of up against the deadline, so I didn't really have time to do much thinking about it. But, I couldn't, as an LSP, say, yes, the temporary solution is great. Because, obviously the concentrations had rebounded. So what Becky and I talked about is, so there's something going on here. There's some residual source that got missed. Is it something under the fire station? Was it a cell? This certainly doesn't suggest that they left anything. So really under the fire station is the only thing I could think of that would possibly be, a continuing source. They did do some injections under the building. There were no vapor intrusion issues. That's where they measure the volatile concentrations will collect under the slab of the building. And in the wintertime, those vapors can get drawn in and people get exposed to them that way. So, but they checked that and that was fine too. So that doesn't suggest there's a source under there. So basically, I'm working on a proposal now for Becky to sample these wells, but also go on to this 50 Leverett Road property. There's a couple wells here that we're hoping are still there and still viable that we could sample without having to pay to install new wells. And so we'll just kind of understand, you know, what's the current orientation of the plume? Is it just at MW8, or, you know, is there more of a problem? The vapor monitoring points, we believe, are still present inside the fire station building, so we'll recheck those. And, you know, the one good thing about PFAS is that you have treatment systems on the wells already, and the carbon that is treating the PFAS will also treat any residual gasoline contamination. This seems to be really locally located up here by the fire station. There doesn't seem to be any, you know, any indication that it would migrate down to the wells and impact those. But, you know, we probably should sample the influent for gasoline in, you know, whichever of the two supply wells is closest to the fire station building, just to have the data point to show DEP that, you know, look, yes, MW8R is bad, but the plume is not expanding. There's no vapor intrusion concerns under the building, and there's no impact to the drinking water supply wells. So if we can say those three things, you know, I feel pretty confident that we can just file this, you know, as another an amended periodic review opinion. Say, you know, concentrations have rebounded in this well, but, you know, there's no exposure potential, there's no drinking water impact, there's no vapor intrusion impact. Basically, it's there, but it's not hurting anyone. So it doesn't need an active response. We don't need to do more remediation, but we will have to keep an eye on it. So I think that will fly with DEP. You know, again, as long as we can demonstrate there's no one being exposed to anything, you know, that would really be the driver to requiring some additional remediation or additional drilling, additional assessment, any of that kind of stuff.
Okay, select board members, Melissa, Eric, do you have questions?
What would additional mediation entail? I mean, I know there's no answer to that exactly, but roughly speaking, what would, if we were ever required to do additional mediation, what would it be?
Since they've already dug up all of the soil, I guess we'd probably want to do some more drilling and do some soil sampling, and maybe put in some more monitoring wells between the building and MW8R, just to understand, you know, where is this coming from? You know, if they already dug up everything, you know, the contamination should be limited to just what's at the water table. There shouldn't be anything above the water table, so there really shouldn't be anything to dig up anymore. And there are, you know, things we can inject that can oxidize the gasoline in place, similar to what O'Reilly Talbot Oaken did under the fire station building, but you know, do that under the fire station if we had to, but more, you know, around this MW8R, just do some injections in there, let the chemicals do their work, and then and that should take care of it. You know, we're not redigging up everything, and it's not going to cost what it cost the first time.
Okay, thanks.
Melissa?
No, he answered it with Eric's question, so I'm good.
Ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would paving the parking lot change the numbers? Because we got the parking lot paved about 2 years ago. And if the parking lot's paved, the gas can't escape, and that's stuck there.
It might trap if there's, you know, significant gasoline contamination volatilizing from the groundwater and getting trapped under the pavement. You know, it's going to seek the path of least resistance. So, given the proximity to the fire station, I suppose it's possible that the vapors could end up in there. But I think this little wetland along the property line is probably the easier path out. You know, when you have, during the heating season primarily, you know, you create a negative pressure inside the building, and that can draw vapors in. So that may overcome the natural propensity for it to come out in this wetland. But like I said, one of the things we're going to check is these vapor points in the fire station. If they're okay, then there shouldn't be an issue.
Jeff, I had a question. So we have a 120-day deadline to respond to this violation notice. So is that will that additional testing be done within the 120 days? I mean, is that something we're going to immediately? And then, but the select board, in the letter, it said the select board needs to respond. So we need to draft a response. And they were very clear, it needs to come from the select board, not from our LSP. So I assume that letter from us should go out as soon as possible, and that it will then detail what steps we're taking to address the violation.
Yeah, no, I can write that up.
I don't recall. Was that in the notice of noncompliance?
About the response?
Yes.
I recall reading that they wanted something back.
Yeah, I read it somewhere too.
Yeah,
I
don't know where it was, but that sort of stuck with me because I thought, okay, it might have been, wasn't in the notice, it might have been in the cover letter.
Oh, in the email?
Now, maybe in here?
Yeah,
it's on the second page of the very top of the page. Licensed site professional. A copy of this notice has been sent to Jeffrey Arps of
however you, not your
however
LSP.
you, not your LSP. I highlighted that. I remember reading it. So yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no separate response. This is, you're responsible for responding.
They're just saying that he's not responsible
for responding.
You're the responsible party.
Okay.
But we will.
Yeah, I think we should put something in writing.
His response, not whatever you guys are thinking or feeling about the situation.
Right.
Okay. So you will be outlining for us the steps to be taken, and then we will notify DEP. Here's how we're moving forward. And do you have?
So Jeffrey's
you don't even have to do that.
Say again, Jeff?
You don't even have to do that. The report that we produce based on the data will be the response. So you don't have to do anything else.
Okay.
That will be filed on EDP and right into DEP.
So, and that gets done within before the 120 days.
Yeah. He'll send the proposal, reviewing it. I've been looking for the funding we have some funding left for the fire station, a little bit, and hopefully they'll match, and then we'll get the testing done. And then Jeffrey will be able to write up his report, and I'll bring it to, share it with the select board, but he'll file the report and hopefully he'll be successful.
Okay. And so where's the money coming from for the additional testing?
We had some money left we used to have an account just for the fire station, and there's some residual there, not a lot, but there's two different ones, so we have about, I think, $7,000 between the two of them that we've been having to pay $980 a year plus. So I've been trying to always have a line available to respond to the work that we need at the fire station, because there's testing that we have to do on a more regular basis, and we need to have reports written not by the select board but by the LSP.
Okay. And are we anticipating then that we're going to be looking for some more money at special town meeting?
Depending on the response that we get.
Okay. From DEP.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to get to special town meeting, if we need additional funding, I'll go to the finance committee.
Okay.
Because we're not going to wait until January to start worrying about this. Has to be dealt with as soon as possible.
Okay.
It's a lot easier to do this work now than if it's 10 below zero and 10 inches of snow trying to find the wells and all that. So we'll try to get this done ASAP.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Jill, I'm sorry, we're not going to be taking any questions, but if you have a question for the select board, I encourage you to just put it in writing. Okay. We are behind schedule. Thank you, Jeff, for coming this evening. Appreciate your
of course.
time.
Thank you, Jeff. Anytime.
And I think I think I had mentioned just while you're here about having you come back at some point to do a PFAS update too. We can't.
After the money comes in.
Right, right. Okay, good. Thank you again. All right, so we're going to go back again. Sorry, we're jumping around here a little bit, and thank you for your patience, Lenny. We're just gonna, should we do Lenny now and then talk about the special town meeting since he's here?
I can wait too. Do whatever.
Okay, all right. Why don't we, since we've mixed everything up so much already, our fire chief is here this evening to talk about decommissioning of equipment and a fee increase request.
Yep. So I'd like to raise inspections from $25 to $50. I'd like to raise the inspections from $25 to $50. Many inspections, they don't pass and we have to require to go back multiple times. And I would like to have several other firefighters start doing inspections, and it's very difficult for them to stop their work and go back and forth several times just for $25. So
what are the inspections? What's the nature of the inspections?
Most of them are smoke inspections. Some of them are propane tank installations inspections, oil tank inspections, solar panel inspections. That's just about all of them. The majority.
So signing off on a building.
Yeah.
Permit.
So say you have to sell your house, you have to get a smoke inspection.
Okay.
And we have to show up, make sure all the smoke detectors work, all the CO detectors work. If you have a propane tank installed, we have to come out and inspect the tank, make sure it's up to code. Same thing with oil tanks. Same thing if you're having like a oil tank being removed from your house over 60 gallons. Yeah, there's a number of different ones, but the majority of them are smoke inspections. So most towns are $50. And they also do have, to go back, they also charge for re-inspections. We only just charge the flat 25 for re-inspections. So yeah, I was asking the select board if I can raise it to 50.
So I know Becky sent something out to all the town boards and committees about
I haven't yet because Donna is close to an answer, but for this current moment in time, we have an issue potentially with fees that aren't set by town meeting, that we have not adopted a statute that had been recommended to us to adopt by Donna back in 2009, and it wasn't adopted. It's chapter 40, section 22F. And so we're planning to put, hopefully, when we talk about the special town meeting, this will be an item to put on it to clear up questions about fees. And then it will also make it possible for committees to, elected bodies and appointed bodies to change their own fees. Appointed bodies will only be able to change if they're authorizing elected. Yeah, they author mainly the select board if the select board signs off. So if a committee is not appointed, select board has to sign off. If you go to town meeting, there's never a problem, but the statute will allow changing of fees. So right now we're in a little bit of a quandary of if your fees are currently by state statute. If you know do you know if state statute established fees, and are they currently at $50?
They're not. They say they can, minimum is charge is $25, maximum is $50.
So that's stated.
I put in, let me go look where it's stated.
Yeah. So if it's stated there by statute, I think that the select board could make that change.
What you just said, Becky, you had said it was the committees and stuff. This is a town department. That's different than a committee, elected or elected or appointed. It's not a committee, it's a town.
But it's not,
department.
so like the town clerk, it's the same. So she's also a town employee, but at this point, Donna's asking that we hold charging fees till she resolves this issue.
Unless they were specifically provided for in the statute.
In
And is
the
there
statute, or if voted at annual town meeting.
Okay.
Like Grace
A fee
has a
schedule or
list
something.
of fees, an actual fee schedule that was voted at town meeting. So that stands. She can continue to do that from what we understand. But it's very complicated and confusing when it applies to the con because their bylaw was voted at town meeting and says it allows for fees, but it's not a list of what the fees are. There's no fee schedule. That's in the regulations. So that's, and the same thing, the same question might apply with what Kristen's asking for solicitation. If we have to, you know, we have to make sure that is also, we authorize it appropriately. So you brought up an issue right when we're in a rat's nest, trying to figure it out. But I think the select board is hearing you, and we will get this resolved as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I can read it or.
Yeah, read it.
All right, let's see, the head of the fire department or marshal may revoke any such permit. A fee of $25 may be charged by the head of the fire department for a permit granted under this section, unless otherwise set in a town by the board of selectmen or town council, or in a city by the mayor, but such fee shall not exceed $50 except as provided in this paragraph. If the spoke inspection conducted pursuant to set 26F and a carbon monoxide inspection are conducted simultaneously, the owner shall not be subject to additional fee. All right, but it does go down. A fee for either carbon monoxide alarm inspection or smoke detector inspection conducted separately shall not exceed 50 for a single family dwelling or a single dwelling unit, $100 for a two-family unit, $150 for a building or structure with 6 or fewer residential units, $500 for any building or structure with more than 6 units.
So, and it did say the select board or mayor sets that.
If you look on other town websites, it's pretty easy. And a lot of them are $25 for re-inspect, you know, when they fail. And like duplexes, 75 or 100. So I'm just asking it to go to 50 from what it was from 25.
So that sounds like we could vote to go to 50.
Said
okay.
The select board.
Okay.
I do see Kristen's hand. I don't know if we want to.
Okay. Quick, Kristen.
Super quick for the record. That's Mass General Law 148, Section 10A.
Yes.
Yeah. 148, Section 10A. Thank you.
So it sounds like we can by statute. So
yeah.
I mean, I skipped a little bit here, but that was kind of because of.
You said what we needed to
that was great.
And it's only on my iPhone, so you can look it up easy enough. Better.
Okay. Well, if everybody's comfortable with moving ahead, then given that it's in the Mass General laws as 50. So do I hear a motion to allow the fire department to increase its fee for inspections to $50?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Okay, decommissioning of equipment.
Yep, so we got the old Walter's old car. I'd like to get rid of the old Chief's car that's behind the fire station. It hasn't, basically he hasn't ran it when he was chief for a little while. I know there are several problems with it. I haven't talked to him all about it, but I know the car was pretty bad driving, and now I can't get it to start when I've had it battery charged for quite a while. So it's been sitting for a good year and a half, maybe. I would like to get rid of it. I talked to Clark's and he offered $250 for it. And if you guys want, or if you guys want to do an auction, We'll post it somewhere.
Yeah, the policy the select board adopted about 10 or 12 years ago, we need to auction it. And then we could, and hopefully Clark will, he has bid on items before that we've auctioned.
Okay.
So we can move ahead.
Move ahead on auction.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And then we got a lot of old fire hose. As per NFPA, we're not allowed to have any hose that's not dated. And they've started putting dates on fire hoses in 1987. So that's where the cutoff is. So per NFPA standard, we're not allowed to have any old fire hose. All the fire hose that I'm mentioning here are late 70s, mid to late 70s. We have 32 fire hoses of 1.5 inch diameter, 50 feet long, and 32 fire hoses of 2.5 inch diameter, 50 feet long. And they're all over 40 years old, and I would like to get rid of it. And I have a couple options, and I figured let's the select board figure it out. I could either throw out all the old hoses and just recycle the metal ends. It's pretty easy to do. There would be no risk towards the town if somebody gets hurt with an old fire hose. The other option, place all on municipal. This could make the town some money, though I'm unsure how much money the town will actually make. I looked, there was a sale of 5 hoses totaling 250 feet long that were only sold for $50, and those hoses were nicer than the hoses we have. So, start doing, so it's kind of like municipal, it's kind of like eBay. So it's kind of whoever bids on it, we get what we get. We could try to sell the hose on Facebook Marketplace with a Shutesbury Fire account. Again, there's not much fire hose for sale on it, but we could try to sell them for $25 a hose each. And again, I don't even know if people are going to even buy it or not. And that is a fair amount of time talking to people, having people come to the station and that sort of thing. The other option would just leave this hose out for free for residents. But it is
what's it made of? What are those made of?
Canvas and rubber inside and aluminum ends.
Is there any hazardous material in any of that hose?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I've talked to other fire chiefs, and one of them said they put it on municipal bid, and most of the other fire chiefs is told they just threw it out. They cut the ends off, recycled the metal, and throw out the old fire hose.
I'm just concerned if somebody purchases it and it fails or.
I'd say let's just dispose of it and try to sell it.
And leaving it for free for the first day. Maybe start on a Monday and then.
You want to leave it outside? Can I leave it outside the station and with a free sign?
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
but if you do it on a Monday and if it's not gone by Wednesday, then we can we bag it up? Is it all right to throw out?
I was thinking on if I was to throw it out, I'd probably put like say 4 rolls in the trash can like a week, and in a few weeks later, time will go by and eventually it'll just all disappear.
Kristen also has a lady.
Kristen, did you have a comment?
Lenny, I just wanted you to also know that there is a place called Hose to Habitat. And if you donate fire hoses to them, they use them in sanctuaries for rehabilitation for animals. It might be something to look at.
Okay.
That's good.
The other thought occurs to me is, and I have no idea, but farmers do a lot of moving around of water for irrigation purposes. They use a lot of pipe, but they might be able to use hoses and might be just as glad to use hoses, especially if I know farmers, if they were free, they'd probably like that. So I don't know how that would work or not. I just throw it out there.
Yeah, I'm sure that kind of works, but they would be the ones most likely bidding for on eBay and municipal bid and Facebook Marketplace, and those were the prices I came up with, that they were selling for. I'm sure if you looked up on eBay or Facebook Marketplace, it'd probably be farmers buying this stuff. If I knew a farmer that wanted it, I mean, I'll be happy to give it to them as long as it's okay with the select board. But you need to kind of know the farmer that would want it. So.
I didn't know of one.
Were you going to say that?
Yeah, I can ask a couple of farmers I know just if I'm just nuts to even thinking about this, or if they'd be interested, or they would know anybody would be interested, or whatever, if we want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used a lot of irrigation out in Albuquerque, but I don't, there is still some irrigation, but not as much here.
I know they like the
Oh,
metal
no,
pipe.
but they definitely irrigate. They absolutely, big farms
Yeah.
around here definitely irrigate all the
But
time.
Mostly with metal pipes though, right?
Oh, yeah, but this would be in place of metal pipe, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you need a vote from us?
Well, I mean, I can look up host habitat. I haven't heard of them. Yeah, it's just another thing. It's town property. If they're happy to take it, and I just give it to them.
So I guess what our motion should be is that we give the select board, I move the select board give Lenny permission to dispose of the hose.
Yes. In
a manner either of donation, selling, or trashing, whichever is the best. He determines is the better.
Is there a second to that motion? Giving Lenny authorization to dispose of the. Yes.
I'll second that motion, and I will talk to a couple of farmers.
Okay, great. All right.
We also have to give him a motion for the fee too, did we?
Yes,
we did. Okay.
Yeah, you voted.
Right.
We did. Okay, so a motion's been made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion about the disposition of the hose? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
So Neil, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Carol, aye. Okay, thanks, Lenny, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Long day.
So that's it. Well, I have this hand it back yet. That can be done later. I get the food evacuation stuff. So I got the one on top, and then I get the two other quotes are on the bottom.
This is for the exhaust system, so we can get moving and get it ordered, so we can use the ARPA funds to pay for it. Okay. You guys approved it 2 years ago.
Yeah. Based on what Jeffrey said, maybe it's a great idea to get that.
Make sure you like the quotes. I got the last two pages. Well, there's the last 2 pages with other quotes.
Okay.
So
great job, Lenny.
Okay. All right. Good. Thanks for coming in,
All right.
Lenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny.
So let's go back to talk about special town meeting.
Yes.
And I know, Becky, you've been putting together have a running list of the things that that we would be proposing for special town meeting. Let's start with the list, and we're going to talk about dates and
so our list potentially is legal funds.
Okay.
Legal, gasoline funds, depending what transpires with the future testing on the 50 Leverett Road. Then we'll have our new PFAS funds. So we have the legal, the gasoline, Concom. We want to be sure to provide, that in the end will probably be legal funds as well, but it will be specifically for the bylaw review. And
say that again. I thought, are they proposing the bylaw? Are they going to bring the bylaw to special town meeting?
You're right.
Okay.
I was
all right.
I was going down the rabbit hole of paying for their Yeah. So that would just be the bylaw.
Right.
No money involved on that one, except for ahead of time. We have to pay for a legal review. And those are the main issues. I think PFAS will be under control through the loan money.
When do we have a sense of when we're going to hear about the loan money?
Yes.
I know we just got everything finally submitted, right?
Yeah, well, the letters still, I've got to get with Geneva and get all the letters out still.
Okay.
I'm trying to do that this coming week.
And the date for the town meeting was this
16th?
16th, yeah, January 16th. And the last thing is approve to have the town vote on the statute that applies to local fee options. And that's chapter 40, section 22. F. And that'll just simplify for everyone. Okay.
What are the letters on the loan? Can you just remind me on the loan?
The Clean Water Act.
Yeah.
The Clean Water Grant through SRF.
Yeah.
And the amount.
So no, what were the letters?
There was this very simple form under a construction grant that legal counsel would sign off, just testifying that the property that we're doing a project on is owned by the town.
Right.
We are doing work on non-town property.
Right.
So to accommodate that, that's where there was about 2 or 3 months they went back and forth figuring out how to accommodate that. And so basically we're getting certification of that the homes have allowed the town entry for the purpose of addressing PFAS. And
so we have to get letters from all those homeowners?
We have to send them.
We have to send them. Okay.
And then send the copies to the Clean Water Trust. That's the very last thing.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry for speaking out of turn, but the audio is really poor. So I did not catch the special town meeting purposes. It would, you know, it was mumbled.
Sure, let me run through it quickly. The special town purposes are additional money for legal, potentially to, we need funding to address the gasoline problem at the fire station, Conservation Commission, wetlands bylaw, and adopting the statute, chapter 40, section 22F, regarding the ability to charge fees.
Yeah, local fees.
Local fees.
Wasn't there something about 50 Leverett Road? You said something about 50 Leverett Road.
That was about the gasoline at the fire station.
Oh, okay. And did you say something about loan money?
That's not at for special town meeting. That was just a side question I had about a loan application that that the town submitted. So, all right. Does it make sense for us to send something out to all town boards, just in case there's anything else that's really pressing that they would want to for special town meeting? I just don't want to do this and somebody says, why didn't you ask us?
Maybe
we really had something really important.
They have anything on there,
right? And I just say, this is not to replace things that would be doing
regular town.
Yeah, that we should be doing at regular town meeting, but just anything of urgency. Okay. So maybe at the next meeting, I know Grace is working on a schedule. We could just have like all the deadlines, when we need to have warrant articles and that sort of thing. And then if that notice could go out to town boards and committees, that would be great. Okay.
Do we have a date? Do we have a date in mind for this meeting?
Yeah, January 16th, Eric.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a snow date?
I hate that kind of planning.
Well, it is in January.
Okay.
I know.
Just pondering that.
All right.
It shouldn't be the next day, probably.
Right. Right.
I was just, if we plan now, we won't have to have it. So
yeah.
You want to plan for the next week?
Yeah, 23rd? I guess the next week, the 23rd, sure. I don't know how you do that with all the notices and so forth. I guess you start the town, you open the town meeting and then
you would.
We did that in the parking lot.
Right.
We did that during the snowstorm in the middle of a parking lot.
And it was Paul's first town meeting, I think.
Yes.
Okay, it's 20 minutes of 8, guys. So I'm starting to lose it already. So let's move on to town administrator updates.
Okay. So the first update I wanted to share was the local fee option situation. which came up earlier in the meeting, but just to review, we have, Donna would like us to hold on charging fees that are subject to uncertainty at this moment. And I'm trying to work with her to clarify that. But given her current family emergency, she's still hoping to get an answer within a couple days, but we don't know what might happen. She might not be able to do that. So I'm asking for patience from the boards and committees. I know Concom has a number of questions because of their new regulatory fees, and the fees that they newly adopted that are in the regulations. So hopefully Donna can resolve that major question for Concom, but I would like all departments to be patient, and I'll notify everyone of the situation that's coming by Friday so that we can. I don't want to send out one notice and then have to repeal it or the next day. So I think it's important to wait for Donna's guidance. And currently she is asking Concom not to charge fees except for the WPA fees that are statutory. There's no question on those. It's only the local fees and the local option fees that we are concerned about.
Okay.
And the second update is the culvert. The loam has been spread on all the slopes. All the base has been rolled and laid out for the roadway. They are also spreading grass seed hopefully tomorrow, and putting in bushes, and highway department is helping me put in some trees. And paving, we hope will be done on Monday. So if all goes smoothly, paving will be done on Monday. The original design called for striping that is, that you see on Route 202, the really fancy, the thermo striping. With the support of our engineer, I've asked them not to use that kind of striping, to use the normal yellow paint, which will speed up the opening of the road as well. It's also a cost issue. We'll get a credit of $800 by not doing that. And I don't believe we would have budgets that could redo it in the future. So I think if we already use regular yellow paint everywhere else in town, changing it at this point in one 80-foot section doesn't make much sense. So
I think though it's changing over across the state though. So the future
we'll have to start planning to do. Thank you for that insight, Melissa. It is kind of costly.
It is, but there's also, because they're changing it, there's funding.
Okay. So we can
maybe available.
We can alert Steve Sullivan to that. So that's the big news. The lake folks will finally have their road back.
Yay. All the buses are gonna love it.
Great. Anything else, Becky?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So the next item on the agenda is for the select board to go into executive session. And I am going to convene an executive session for reason number 3. And that reason is to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. In this case, the police department.
And not return to open?
Well, we have a second executive session, so I know this came up once before. Yeah, so we go out of this executive session and then we have to
close out and then open.
So after this executive session, we will be returning to public session in order to go into another executive session and then not going back into public session. So we need to take roll call vote in order to go into executive session. So do I hear a motion to go into executive session for reason number 3, collective bargaining discussion around the police department?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Darrell, aye. Okay, so we are going to an executive session and
Penny, we have to ask you to leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please indicate that you are alone in your space and nobody can hear the discussion. Eric?
Yes, I'm alone.
Okay.
I'm so alone.
I'm gonna stop recording because we don't usually.
Okay, and we will be. Okay, so we're back in public session. We are going to now I'm calling another executive session for reason number 2. And reason number 2 is to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, in this case, the town administrator. We are not going to go back into public session after this executive session, and we will have a recorded roll call vote to go into executive session. So all those in favor of going into executive session for reason number 2, or do I hear a motion? I've made the motion.
Yes, so
yes,
second
I made the
that,
motion,
yes.
and you'll second. Okay.
I'll say so moved, and that Eric seconds.
Okay.
Second. There we go.
Thank you. I'm getting tired.
I
know.
Okay. So all those in favor of going into executive session for reason number 2.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Darrell, aye. And again, Eric, you are in a place where nobody